The council chamber of Zerith Prime stretched like a cathedral built from glass and obsidian. Hollow banners of the Empire's ruling houses shimmered across vaulted ceilings, each sigil flickering with the pride of a civilization that had reigned for centuries. The chamber floor curved into rising tiers where hundreds of alien dignitaries sat, scaled, feathered, crystalline, all united in one expression: amusement. At the center dais, beneath the converging spotlights, Captain Elias Rourke stood stiff-backed in his dark blue Earth Fleet uniform. The stars embroidered on his shoulders felt insignificant under the weight of so many eyes. He wasn't a diplomat, nor a politician, he was a soldier placed here to endure ridicule, and the council knew it. Archduke Caliph Drovian descended from his throne, feathers lacquered in imperial dye, his frame tall and lithe. He moved with theatrical precision, every gesture designed to command attention. His voice carried without amplification. "Captain Rourke of Earth," Caliph declared, savoring the name as though it were bitter wine. "Tell me, when your people dig their roots from the dirt, do you polish your boots in soil or simply wipe them on your flag?" The chamber erupted in laughter. Crystalline envoys rippled in luminous waves, reptilian nobles clashed their scaled fists in approval. The jeers rose like a tide, and still Rourke said nothing. His jaw was locked, his hands clasped tight behind his back. Caliph's grin widened. "Forgive me. I should not insult farmers. They feed their betters. What do humans feed, I wonder? Their delusions of grandeur?" The laughter sharpened, cruel as glass shards. Rourke finally spoke, his voice even, carrying just enough weight to silence a few chuckles. "We feed our children. We build homes. We bury our dead when raiders burn our colonies. And we remember every insult that follows." The words struck like steel on stone. The chamber quieted, not from respect, but from surprise. Caliph tilted his head, studying him as though he were an insect that dared sting. "Defiance," the Archduke said softly, "from a species that can barely hold a single sector. You should pray for the Empire's protection, not provoke its hand." Rourke held his gaze. "We've seen what your protection means." Murmurs rippled through the tiers. Caliph's eyes narrowed, but he laughed once more, spreading his wings with a flare of arrogance. "Then pray your memory keeps you warm when the void swallows Earth whole." The session adjourned with mocking applause. The human delegation departed in silence, their footsteps echoing against cold stone. Outside, the nebula-sprawled sky of Zerith Prime glowed blood-red, as though the galaxy itself mocked them too. Hours later, aboard the transport back to Earth's embassy, Rourke stared out the viewport. His reflection was hard and lined, the expression of a man who had held his tongue long enough. His adjutant, Lieutenant Marin Voss, shifted uneasily beside him. "They'll never take us seriously," she muttered. "Not until we bleed them for every insult." "They'll laugh until the day they choke on it," Rourke replied, his voice low. "And that day is coming sooner than they think." It came faster than expected. 2 weeks later, news reached Earth command of a massacre on Arcturus 9, a mining colony of 30,000 souls. Raiders had swept in under the Empire's blind eye, stripping ore, burning habitats, leaving bodies frozen in shattered domes. When survivors begged the Empire for justice, the Council responded with silence and quiet amusement. In the war room beneath Earth's capital, military leaders gathered in dim light around a sprawling holomap. Admiral Serrano's voice cut through the silence. "We cannot match the Empire's fleets in raw numbers. They want us humiliated, cornered. But we've prepared for this moment." She turned to Rourke. "Project Aegis is operational. And you will command it." The words carried the weight of history. Project Aegis, rumored, denied, whispered in the corridors of power, was Earth's most guarded secret. Years of desperation had fueled its development. Not bigger ships. Not heavier cannons. Something the galaxy had never seen. Rourke's eyes moved over the holomap, then to Serrano. "It's ready for war?" Her gaze didn't waver. "It's ready for truth. The first teleportation-capable fleet in history. No jump gates, no wormholes. Instantaneous repositioning, anywhere in known space. We held it back until we had no choice. Now, she exhaled. Now we make them choke on their laughter. On the day of departure, the fleet gathered above Earth orbit. 12 warships gleamed in formation, smaller than Imperial dreadnoughts, but bristling with hidden confidence. The HTF Resolute, Rourke's flagship, anchored the center. In the command deck, officers strapped into their stations. Marin Voss stood at his side, nervous energy in her stance. Every engineer says it works. No one's lived through more than a training hop. Rourke adjusted his gloves. Then we'll live through the first war jump. He tapped the comm fleet-wide. This is Captain Rourke. We are not here to beg, and we are not here to hide. Today we answer the galaxy's laughter with steel. Remember Arcturus. Remember their jeers. And remember this, humanity will never kneel. The bridge lit with determined faces. Hands tightened on controls. Across the fleet, responses rang in unison, never kneel. Rourke gave the order. Engage Aegis. The stars outside the viewport bent like liquid glass, reality twisting in a blur. Space folded, fractured, and in less than a heartbeat, the fleet vanished from orbit. Earth receded, not across distance, but across dimensions. The sensation was neither motion nor stillness, but something stranger, a dislocation that left every breath suspended in disbelief. Then, as quickly as it began, it ended. The viewport cleared. Stars unfamiliar shone against a different sector. Entire light years crossed in the blink of an eye. Gasps filled the deck. Voss clutched her console, breathless. We made it. Rourke's eyes never left the stars. No. We've arrived. In that instant, humanity's fate shifted. The galaxy still laughed, oblivious. The Empire still boasted, blind to the storm gathering in silence. But aboard the Resolute, with the hum of Project Aegis resonating through her steel bones, Captain Elias Rourke allowed himself the faintest smile. For the first time, Earth held a weapon that would rewrite the balance of power. And soon, the Archduke would learn what it meant to mock the species that had just conquered distance itself. The hum of Project Aegis still lingered in the Resolute's hull, a resonance that felt alive. Captain Elias Rourke stood at the forward viewport, eyes fixed on the stars of a sector they had crossed in less than a heartbeat. Even seasoned officers found themselves staring, as though reality itself had betrayed its rules. Lieutenant Marin Voss broke the silence. Light years in an instant. I've served on warships for 12 years and I've never. I don't even have words. Rourke gave the faintest nod. Save them. We'll need the right ones when the galaxy demands answers. Behind them, Commander Jiro Tanaka, chief engineer of the fleet, rubbed his temples. His voice carried both awe and fear. The strain on the drives was within calculated tolerance, but only just. Push too far, too fast, and we risk tearing the ships apart mid-transition. Then we don't push, Rourke said flatly. We strike with precision. One blow where they least expect. That blow would come sooner than anyone had planned. Reports streamed through intelligence channels. The Zerathian Empire had mobilized its 7th Armada. Archduke Caliph Drovian himself commanded the operation. Their objective was no secret. The Empire intended to blockade humanity's border colonies, starving Earth into submission. The massacre at Arcturus 9 had been only the opening move. Now the noose was tightening. In the fleet's briefing chamber, holomaps shimmered with the Empire's advance. Red markers represented Zerathian cruisers converging on human settlements. Blue markers, fewer, smaller, represented Earth's scattered defenses. Conventional strategy won't work, Serrano's voice came through from Earth Command, her image ghosted in the hollow. They outnumber us 10-1. But they don't know what you carry. Rourke, your task isn't defense. It's disruption. Cut their supply lines. Break their confidence. Make Caliph question every move. Rourke studied the red swarm closing around the colonies. We don't meet them head-on. We bleed them from the shadows. Exactly, Serrano replied. strike where they believe themselves untouchable, then vanish before they can answer. The first opportunity came near the gas giant of Lorinth. Kaletha's armada had paused to refuel and gather reinforcements. Hundreds of ships clustered in tight formation around orbital stations. It was a fortress no human fleet could hope to penetrate. Unless that fleet could appear inside the fortress itself. On the Resolute's bridge, tension hung thick. Officers checked and rechecked their stations. Tanaka's hands trembled slightly over the Aegis controls. "Coordinates locked," he said. "If this works, we'll drop right behind their central refueling hub." Voss leaned closer to Rourke. "If it fails?" "It won't," Rourke interrupted. His voice was calm, absolute. He gave the order. "Engage." Reality twisted. The stars blurred, then snapped into focus, so close to Zerathian cruisers that their hulls filled the viewport. Alarms erupted across enemy channels. The humans had materialized in the middle of the armada. "Open fire," Rourke commanded. The fleet answered. Lances of plasma carved through fuel depots, igniting chain reactions that bloomed into fireballs across the void. Human destroyers unleashed salvos point blank, tearing through Zerathian escorts before their shields could raise. Chaos spread like wildfire. On the comm, intercepted alien chatter screamed confusion. "Impossible. They bypassed the gates. How did they breach us?" Within minutes, what had been a bastion of security turned into a graveyard of wreckage. Then, before reinforcements could converge, Rourke gave the command, "Withdraw." The fleet blinked out of existence. They reappeared in empty space light years away, hulls scarred but intact. Cheers broke across the Resolute's bridge. Voss grinned like she hadn't in months. "We just crippled half their armada in less time than it takes to pour a drink." Tanaka slumped in his chair, sweat dripping. And every ship survived. By every law of physics, this shouldn't be possible. Rourke allowed himself a brief smile. Physics never stopped humanity before. Words spread faster than even the fleet could move. Across neutral systems, whispers carried the tale. The humans had appeared inside Kaletha's formation, struck, and vanished. Some dismissed it as rumor, others as propaganda. But among alien captains, unease grew. Kaleth himself raged aboard his flagship, the Imperius Ascendant. The chamber trembled as he struck a clawed hand against the holotable. "Trickery," he snarled. "Some hidden wormhole, some coward's trick. They cannot move as gods. They are dirt breeds who should crawl before my banner." His lieutenants exchanged wary glances. One reptilian commander dared to speak. "Archduke, with respect, our ships saw them appear. Not from a gate. From nothing. They were simply there." Kaletha's crest flared crimson with fury. "Then we teach them that tricks do not save prey. Muster the entire armada. We will hunt them until their world burns." But the harder Kaleth pressed, the more the humans struck. Near Foros Station, Earth's fleet appeared behind his supply convoys, seizing vital fuel. Over Elther's Rift, they emerged above an undefended staging ground, crippling it in minutes. Every jump left devastation in their wake. Every disappearance deepened the mystery. On the bridge of the Resolute, Voss reported after the third successful raid. Intercepted comms show panic spreading through the ranks. "They've started calling us phantoms." "Good," Rourke said. His eyes stayed on the tactical map. "Fear is a weapon. And right now, it's the sharpest one we have." Yet the victories came at a price. The Aegis drives groaned under repeated jumps. Engineers worked without rest, patching systems pushed beyond safe limits. Tanaka warned of increasing instability. "One miscalculation," he said, "and we could rematerialize inside a star. Or worse, scatter across dimensions. I don't know how long the fleet can keep this up." Rourke listened, weighing the risk. "Long enough," he answered at last. "Because Kaleth isn't retreating. He's preparing to crush us outright. And when he does, we'll be ready." The day came when Kaleth committed everything. Reports confirmed it. The entire 7th Armada was converging on a human colony at Solaren Reach. It was bait, meant to draw Rourke out. The Archduke wanted spectacle, not efficiency. He wanted Earth broken publicly. On the eve of battle, Rourke stood before his officers. The room was silent, the air charged with fear and resolve. "They call us prey," he said. "They laugh as they burn our colonies. But laughter doesn't win wars. Resolve does. Tomorrow we face the Archduke himself. He expects to crush us with numbers. Instead, we'll show him the truth, that no wall, no fleet, no throne can shield him from Earth." Voss straightened. "And if we fail?" Rourke met her eyes. "Then we make our failure echo so loud the galaxy never forgets. But we won't fail. Not tomorrow." When the human fleet jumped, they didn't aim for Kalitha's blockade line. They didn't even aim for his rear supply. They appeared inside his formation itself, among hundreds of warships. The void erupted in chaos. The void above Solaren Reach shimmered with the gathered might of the Zerathian 7th Armada. Hundreds of warships formed a vast wall of firepower, stretching across the black like a steel horizon. At its heart, towering over all, loomed the flagship Imperius Ascendant, the jewel of Archduke Kalith Drovian. Its hull glowed with layered shields, its cannons the size of cities. From his throne-like command dais, Kalith surveyed the formation with pride. This was no raid. This was spectacle. The humans would either appear and die or cower and be forgotten. His crest flared crimson as he declared, "When their ashes drift, every world will see what becomes of defiance." Across the stars, the Resolute emerged from teleportation, its hull vibrating from the strain. On the bridge, Captain Elias Rourke steadied himself, eyes scanning the tactical display. The swarm of red markers representing enemy ships filled the map like a suffocating tide. "They've concentrated everything," Lieutenant Marin Voss said, voice tight. "No gaps. No blind spots. It's a wall." Rourke's expression hardened. "Then we don't go around it. We go through." Chief Engineer Tanaka swallowed. Multiple transitions inside a hostile formation risks catastrophic misalignment. "We're out of choices," Rourke cut him off. His gaze swept the bridge crew. "This is the battle they'll remember, one way or another. Ready the fleet." Kalitha's armada advanced in perfect rhythm. But then, with no warning, the humans appeared. Not at the edge of the formation. Not behind. Inside. 12 warships erupted into existence among hundreds, their cannons already blazing. Plasma beams tore through Zerathian cruisers at point-blank range. Explosions rippled across the armada's heart before alarms could even sound. "Phantoms," screamed alien comms. "They are inside us." Kalith surged to his feet, wings unfurling in fury. "Reform ranks. Crush them." But the humans did not hold their ground. They vanished again, reappearing on the opposite side of the formation, shredding supply ships. Then they disappeared once more, only to reappear near the rear guard, cannons ripping into exposed engines. The human fleet flickered like lightning, impossible to predict, impossible to contain. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew moved with machine-like efficiency. Sweat gleamed on brows, but hands stayed steady. "Targets destroyed, 34 confirmed," Voss reported, her voice clipped. "Their formation is collapsing." "Maintain pressure," Rourke ordered. His tone remained calm, though inside, adrenaline surged like fire. "Don't let them breathe." Tanaka's voice cracked over the roar of status updates. "The drives can't take this tempo. Every jump strains the cores beyond limits." Rourke leaned toward him. "Hold them together. A few more strikes and Kalith will have nothing left to command." On the Imperius Ascendant, Kalitha's fury boiled. He activated the comm link, his image flickering onto the Resolute's bridge. The alien's voice rang with venom. "Tricks. Illusions. Do you think coward's magic makes you warriors?" His talons clicked against the armrest. "Face me. Here. If your kind dares." Rourke stepped forward into the hollow's glow. No illusion, Archduke. Just innovation. Something you'll never understand, because you were too busy laughing. Kalitha's eyes burned. Then fight me without running. Or I'll burn your world until even its ghosts kneel. Rourke's reply was quiet, resolute. Earth kneels to no one. He cut the channel. Captain, Voss said sharply, he's daring us into direct engagement. If we teleport aboard his flagship's perimeter, it'll be suicide. Not if we make it count, Rourke answered. He looked across his officers, every face lit by the glow of battle. Set the coordinates. We end this now. The human fleet vanished. For a breath, the Armada thought they had fled. Then reality tore open, and the Resolute reappeared with its companions, point blank against the Imperious Ascendant. The flagship's guns swung to bear, massive turrets charging, but Rourke had already given the order. Every human ship unleashed at once. Beams and torpedoes hammered the flagship's shields, peeling them back in layers of fire. Kalith roared commands, his own weapons unleashing devastation. 2 human destroyers were vaporized instantly, their deaths searing into the eyes of every survivor. But the rest pressed on, darting and vanishing, reappearing at impossible angles. On the Resolute, alarms blared as hull plating buckled under near misses. Tanaka shouted, one more jump and the core might rupture. Then it ruptures, Rourke snapped. Do it. They jumped again, materializing above the flagship's bridge tower. At point-blank range, the Resolute's main cannon fired. The blast tore through armor, ripping into Kalitha's command deck. For the first time, silence swept across the enemy comms. The flagship staggered, flames boiling from its side. On his throne, Kalith clutched the railing, eyes wide in disbelief. His command staff lay broken around him. The arrogance that had fed him for centuries cracked, leaving only rage and fear. Retreat, one of his lieutenants hissed. Kalith struck him down with a claw. No! I will not. His voice was swallowed by another explosion as the deck collapsed. The Resolute pulled back, battered but alive. Around them, the Zerathian fleet scattered in disarray. Without their leader, coordination dissolved into chaos. Some fled, others fought aimlessly, but the tide had broken. On the bridge, Voss exhaled, trembling. We did it. Rourke's eyes remained fixed on the burning hulk of the Imperious Ascendant. His voice was steady. No. We showed them. The war isn't over, but their laughter is. Moments later, the human fleet appeared in orbit above Zerith Prime itself. They had not come to attack but to send a message. Across the council chambers, nobles and dignitaries stared upward as human warships filled their sky, ships that had bypassed every defense, every gate, every fleet. A single transmission echoed across galactic comms, Rourke's voice carried to billions. Humanity is no one's prey. We fight when forced, and when we fight, we endure. Remember that before you mock us again. Silence followed. No jeers. No applause. Only the crackle of disbelief. As the Resolute turned away, Earth's banner glowed on every ship's hull, projected into the void for all to see. Among alien worlds, whispers spread like fire. They laughed at Earth. But Earth arrived where no one thought possible. And from that day forward, the phrase carried weight across the stars. Do not laugh at humanity. They are already closer than you think. The wreck of the Imperious Ascendant still burned across the void of Solaren Reach when the Resolute returned to Earth space. The victory had stunned the galaxy, but within the command deck of the flagship, there was no celebration, only silence and exhaustion. Captain Elias Rourke stood at the viewport, eyes locked on the familiar curve of Earth below. Cities glimmered faintly across the darkened hemisphere. He thought of Arcturus 9, of colonies left in ash, of laughter turned to screams. The fleet had struck a blow, yes, but the war was not finished. Lieutenant Marin Voss approached, her voice low. The colonies are hailing us non-stop. Some call us saviors. Others demand to know if we've provoked the Empire into full war. Rourke's gaze didn't shift. They should know the truth. War was already here. We only stopped pretending otherwise. Behind them, Chief Engineer Tanaka staggered in, his face pale. The Aegis cores, they're degraded. We pushed them past safe tolerances. Without full refits, another campaign of jumps could tear the fleet apart. Rourke turned then, eyes sharp. How long before they fail completely? Tanaka hesitated. Weeks. Maybe days, depending on use. The captain absorbed the news with grim acceptance. The Empire had been wounded, not killed. Humanity's miracle weapon was powerful, but fragile. Across the stars, the shock of Kalitha's defeat rippled through the halls of the Zerathian Council. Nobles who had once laughed now sat in uneasy silence. Holofeeds replayed the sight of human warships over their capital, an image burned into collective memory. Yet in shadowed chambers, whispers spread. Kalith had not perished aboard his flagship. He had escaped, scarred and furious, swearing vengeance. His absence only sharpened fear. An archduke humiliated was more dangerous than one triumphant. 2 days later, Earth Command convened an emergency summit. Admirals, ministers, and scientists gathered in the subterranean war room, the air heavy with anticipation. The holomap displayed not victory, but threat, the Empire's 8th and 9th armadas, mobilizing from distant sectors. Admiral Serrano's voice was hard. They will not forgive humiliation. Kalith will rally them. Their numbers dwarf ours. One miracle weapon will not hold the line forever. Arguments flared around the table. Some urged diplomacy. Others called for retreat to Earth's inner colonies. The room threatened to fracture until Rourke spoke. Retreat, and the colonies burn. Diplomacy, and we kneel. Neither is survival. The only path is to turn their fear into hesitation. Make every world whisper that fighting humanity is suicide. Serrano studied him. And how do you propose that? Rourke's answer was steady. We take the war to their doorstep again. Not just raids. A demonstration that Earth is not prey, it is a predator with teeth sharp enough to pierce their throne. Silence followed. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. Preparations consumed the next week. Engineers labored night and day to stabilize the Aegis cores, cannibalizing parts from damaged ships. Crews trained for rapid strike tactics, honing maneuvers that no alien doctrine had ever conceived. In quiet hours, Rourke walked the Resolute's corridors. He saw young officers writing last letters home, veterans tightening worn gloves, technicians soldering circuits with hands raw from exhaustion. They had seen the impossible, survived it, and now braced to test fate again. One evening, Voss joined him by the observation deck. Stars drifted past in endless silence. You never hesitate, she said quietly. Not in the council chambers. Not in battle. Not now. Doesn't fear ever catch you? Rourke's reflection in the glass looked older than his years. Every time I close my eyes. Fear's not weakness, Marin. It's the weight that keeps us steady. The difference is we don't let it chain us. Her voice softened. And if the chains come anyway? He didn't answer. He only kept staring at the stars, as though daring them to blink first. The target was chosen, the Zerathian fortress world of Dravith, a staging hub for 2 armadas. Its orbital rings bristled with cannons, its skies darkened by fleets. No human ship had ever entered its system and survived. The fleet gathered, hulls patched, drives trembling but ready. In the command deck of the Resolute, final checks completed, Rourke addressed his officers. Kalith believes fear rules the galaxy. He's wrong. Hope does. Today we carry both. We strike not just for Earth, but for every species that has lived beneath their boot. We'll make them see the cracks in their throne. Tanaka muttered, or die proving it. Rourke allowed the ghost of a smile. Then let's make sure dying isn't the lesson. The jump engaged. Space folded. The fleet reappeared above Dravith. Chaos erupted instantly. Alarm klaxons screamed across alien comms. The humans had bypassed every gate, every defense, and materialized inside the fortress perimeter. The orbital rings fired in desperation, but the human fleet darted, jumped, struck, and vanished, reappearing in impossible vectors. Stations exploded one by one, fireballs painting the skies. Convoys fled in panic. The human fleet was small, but its unpredictability made it feel infinite. Every teleport shattered Zerathian doctrine further, eroding the illusion of invulnerability. Inside Dravatha's command citadel, nobles screamed for counterattack. But fear had rooted deep. If the humans could appear anywhere, nowhere was safe. Amid the carnage, the Resolute locked onto its true objective, broadcasting a message across galactic comms. Rourke appeared on every screen, every channel, his voice carried to billions. "This is Captain Elias Rourke of Earth. You laughed as our people died. You mocked us as weak. But weakness does not cross the stars, weakness does not endure slaughter, weakness does not invent what you thought impossible. We are not prey. We are the storm you invited." Explosions lit the background, a living punctuation to his words. "Tell your rulers, Earth does not kneel. And neither should you." The fleet jumped away, vanishing into silence. What remained was devastation, and the echo of a message no empire could erase. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew slumped into their seats, drained but alive. Voss exhaled shakily. "They'll never ignore us again." "No," Rourke said softly. His gaze drifted toward the endless dark. "But fear cuts both ways. They'll come harder, and we'll bleed for every step." Still, he let the silence linger before finishing. "The laughter is gone." Tanaka adjusted damaged readouts. "Gone, maybe. But Caliph isn't." Rourke's jaw tightened. He already knew the truth. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Archduke was gathering what remained, his humiliation sharpening into fury. And when he returned, the war would no longer be about survival. It would be about supremacy. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, cold and waiting. Humanity had stepped onto a stage it could never leave. The galaxy now knew Earth's name, spoken not in mockery, but in fear and awe. For the first time, the balance of power trembled. And for the first time, humanity was not laughingstock. It was legend.